You're not actually thinking about quitting your job to plan this wedding, are you? My sister said, laughing like she'd made a joke. I hadn't said anything about quitting. I'd said I could help. Those are very different things, but that's how it started. With a laugh that wasn't really a laugh, and a question that wasn't really a question. My name is Lena. I'm 31 years old. I'm a registered nurse at a hospital in Columbus, Ohio. And for the past 4 years, I have quietly, consistently, and almost completely financially supported my family while they planned a wedding that wasn't mine. Let me back up. My younger sister Brooke got engaged in March. Her fiancé, a guy named Tyler, proposed at a rooftop restaurant downtown with a ring my parents helped him pick out. I found out about the engagement the same way I found out about most things in my family, through a group text, after the fact with a photo already attached. The photo showed Brooke crying happy tears, my mom pressing both hands to her cheeks, and my dad hugging Tyler like he was already his son. It was a beautiful photo. I saved it to my phone. I stared at it for a long time in the break room at work, eating a granola bar, still in my scrubs. I wasn't jealous. I want to be clear about that. I was happy for Brooke. Genuinely. She's 4 years younger than me. She'd been with Tyler for 3 years, and he's a decent guy. I just felt quietly like I'd missed something, like the scene had already started before I walked in. But I pushed that feeling down the way I'd learned to push a lot of feelings down, and I texted back a string of heart emojis and called my mom that night to say congratulations. We're thinking spring, my mom said. Maybe April. It needs to be before it gets hot, because you know how Brooke feels about sweating in photographs. April is beautiful, I said. Where are you thinking? There was a pause. The kind of pause that means the answer is already decided and someone is figuring out how to present it. Well, my mom said, there's this venue outside the city. Old farmhouse property, the kind with the barn and the string lights. Brooke has had it saved on her Pinterest for 2 years. I knew the venue. I'd seen it on Instagram. It was gorgeous. It was also not cheap. How much is it? I asked. Another pause. Around $18,000 for the venue alone. But Lena, and here her voice shifted into something softer, more careful. You know your father's hours got cut again last winter, and Tyler's family is helping with what they can, but his mom is on a fixed income. And Mom, I said, we're not asking you to pay for everything, she said quickly. We would never. But you know you're the one who's stable right now. You've always been the one we could count on. That sentence. You've always been the one we could count on. I've heard that sentence in so many different shapes over the years. It has funded car repairs, covered a mortgage payment when my dad was between jobs, paid for my brother Cody's community college tuition when his financial aid fell through, bought my mom a new laptop when hers crashed the week before she started her online bookkeeping class. I had never said no, not once, not to any of it. Tell me what you need, I said. What they needed, it turned out, was quite a lot. The first check I wrote was for the venue deposit, $4,000, non-refundable, due within 2 weeks of booking. My mom cried when I told her I'd cover it. She said, I don't know what we'd do without you, Lena. I really don't. I felt warm when she said it. I'm not proud of that now, but I felt warm. Then came the caterer deposit, $1,500. Then flowers. Brooke had her heart set on a specific florist who did large floral installations, the kind you see in wedding magazines, the kind that costs more than my first car. My contribution to the flowers was $2,000. The photographer was a friend of a friend, supposedly discounted, and I covered half, $900. The cake tasting happened on a Saturday afternoon, and I drove 40 minutes to be there, only to find out they'd already chosen the flavor and just wanted me to try it. I ate lemon raspberry cake and nodded and smiled and didn't say anything about the invoice sitting in my inbox for the deposit I'd already paid. By November, 8 months before the wedding, I had spent just over $14,000 on my sister's wedding. I hadn't told anyone that number. I hadn't written it down anywhere. I knew it the way you know the balance of a credit card you're afraid to look at, instinctively in the back of your chest, right where it sits heaviest. Work was difficult that fall. We were understaffed on the floor, and I was picking up extra shifts to compensate, which meant I was exhausted in a way that felt cellular. I'd come home at 7 in the morning after a 12-hour night shift, kick off my shoes at the door, and sometimes just sit on my kitchen floor for a few minutes before I had the energy to shower. My apartment is small, a one-bedroom in a neighborhood I chose specifically because I could walk to a coffee shop in a park. I love it. I had recently started thinking about saving for a down payment on something with a second bedroom, maybe a little backyard. That thinking had gotten very quiet lately. In December, my mom called with what she described as just a small thing. Brooke wants to do a destination bachelorette, she said. Savannah. 4 days. The girls are all going, and obviously you'll be there, but some of the other bridesmaids can't cover the full cost, so we were thinking, Mom, I said. I'm not a bridesmaid. A silence. You're not. What do you mean? Brooke asked her college friends. And Tyler's sister. There are 6 of them. I'm not in the wedding party. Well, no, but you're her sister, my mom said, as if this were an obvious clarification and not a complete sidestepping of what I just said. You'll still come, right? It would mean so much to her. And if you could help with the cost of the house rental so the other girls don't have to split it so many ways. I looked at my kitchen ceiling. There's a small water stain in the corner I've been meaning to ask my landlord about for 6 months. I stared at it. How much is the rental? I asked. $2,200 for the weekend. If you covered half, the other girls could manage the rest. I covered half. January came. I started keeping a spreadsheet. I don't know why I hadn't done it sooner. Maybe because I didn't want to see it all in one place, laid out cleanly in cells, undeniable. The total, as of the 3rd week of January, was $16,800, spread across 9 months. Most of it paid directly, some of it reimbursements my family had asked for and received. None of it discussed in any formal way, none of it treated as a loan. It was just understood. I had it. They needed it. That was the arrangement. The week after I made the spreadsheet, my dad called me. Hey, kiddo, he said. He only calls me kiddo when he wants something. I've known this since I was 19. How's everything going? Work treating you okay? It's busy, I said. Short-staffed. You know how it is. You work too hard, he said, with what I can only describe as practiced warmth. Always have. We're proud of you, Lena. You know that. Thanks, Dad. Listen, he said, and there it was, the pivot. The florist called, and apparently there was a miscommunication about the centerpieces for the reception tables. The quote went up. The new number is, well, it's a lot, and your mom is really stressed about it. How much? $3,400 more than the original quote. I was quiet. Brooke is devastated, he said. She's been planning this vision for so long, and I hate to ask, but you know we wouldn't if we didn't have to. That sentence again, repackaged. We wouldn't if we didn't have to, as if necessity was a fact about the world and not a choice about priorities. I can do 2,000, I said. I can do 3,400. 2,000 would be incredible, my dad said. You're a lifesaver, Lena. Truly. I transferred the money that night, $2,000. My running total was now just over $18,800. I'd like to tell you I said something that night, that I opened a new text thread and typed out everything I'd been carrying. The spreadsheet, the number, the fatigue, the feeling of watching my own savings account hollow out just this once at a time. I composed that text in my head for about an hour. Then I deleted it and went to sleep. Here's what nobody saw I had been saving for 3 years for a down payment on a house. A real one, with a yard. My goal was $25,000, and I'd gotten within striking distance. I was at $22,000 last spring, right before the engagement, right before the deposit started. By January, I was at $4,300. That's it. 4 years of extra shifts, of saying no to vacations, of driving a 2014 Honda Civic with a cracked dashboard and 140,000 miles on it, and I had $4,300 left. I made a decision. Not a dramatic one. I didn't call anyone or write a letter or do anything that made noise. I just decided that I was done. Not done with my family. Not done with my sister's wedding, which was in April and for which I had plane tickets already purchased. Just done contributing. Done being the account everyone withdrew from. Done saying yes because yes had always been the path of least resistance, and I was so tired. I didn't tell anyone yet. I just stopped. When my mom texted in February asking if I could help offset the rehearsal dinner cost, Tyler's family was originally supposed to host it, but his mom had a health scare and things were uncertain. I wrote back, "I'm so sorry I can't help with that one. I hope everything works out." She called me 12 minutes later. "What do you mean you can't help?" she said. Not angry, not yet. Confused. The way people are confused when something that has always worked suddenly stops working. "I mean, I'm not in a position to contribute right now," I said. "I've been stretched pretty thin." "Stretched thin," she repeated. "Lena, you're a nurse. You make good money." "I make okay money," I said. "And I've been putting a lot of it toward the wedding already." There was a long silence. "You're upset about something," she said. "What are you upset about?" "I'm not upset, Mom. I just can't do this one." She sighed. "Fine. Okay. I'll figure something out." She hung up before I could respond. She called back 2 hours later, calmer, with a different approach. "I just want you to know that Brooke has no idea how much you've given," she said. "She thinks Tyler's family is covering most of it. She'd be mortified if she knew." I sat with that for a second. "She'd be mortified?" I said slowly. "That I've spent nearly $19,000 on her wedding?" A pause. "That's Lena. It wasn't that much." "Mom, I have a spreadsheet." She didn't respond. $18,840, I said. "From April to January, I have every transaction." Her voice, when it came, was smaller. "We didn't realize it added up like that." "I know," I said. And I did believe that mostly. They hadn't kept a spreadsheet. They'd just called when they needed something, and I'd answered, and nobody had been watching the total. But I've been watching, and I'm done for now. The week before the wedding, Brooke called me for the first time in 2 months. Not a text, an actual call. Her voice coming through my phone sounding careful. "Mom says you guys had a fight," she said. "We didn't fight," I said. I just told her I couldn't keep contributing money. "Okay," Brooke said. "Then is everything okay with you? Like, financially?" It was the first time she'd asked. 4 years of funding her life in various ways, and this was the first direct question about whether I was okay. "I'm fine," I said. "I'm glad you're getting married. I'm coming to the wedding. I just can't keep being the answer to every budget problem." She was quiet for a moment. "I didn't know. Mom said you were happy to help." "I was for a while," I said. "And then it became a lot." "How much?" she asked. "Like, how much did you actually put in?" I told her. I heard her inhale, a long, slow breath that I could feel through the phone. "Lena," she said, "I didn't know. I know you didn't. I would never have. I mean, if I'd known the number I know," I said again, and then, because I meant it, "I'm not trying to make you feel bad before your wedding. I just need you to know that I can't keep doing it, going forward." She cried a little. I didn't cry. I felt strangely calm, the way you feel when you finally say a thing that has been sitting in your chest for a long time. The wedding was in April, on a Saturday, at the barn venue with the string lights. It was genuinely beautiful. Brooke looked radiant in a dress that I hadn't paid for. Flowers I had paid for draping every surface. And I sat in the 3rd row and watched my sister marry someone who looked at her like she was the whole day. And I felt something real move through me. Grief and love and something tired and something like relief. At the reception, my dad found me at the bar. "You look beautiful, kiddo," he said. "Thanks, Dad." He put his hand on my arm. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said, "about how much you've done for this family, for this wedding. It wasn't right, how much we leaned on you." I looked at him. "I want to pay you back," he said. "Not all at once. I can't do that, but we'll figure something out." "You don't have to," I said, and I meant it. I wasn't holding the number over them. I just needed to stop. "I want to," he said. "You're our daughter. You shouldn't have had to carry that." We stood there for a minute in the noise of the reception, the band playing something from the 90s, Brooke laughing across the room. It wasn't a resolution. It wasn't a resolution. It wasn't a repayment plan or a dramatic reckoning. It was just my dad saying the thing I had needed someone to say for about a year. I drove home the next morning. 6 hours. I stopped at a McDonald's outside of Louisville and ate a breakfast sandwich in my car in the parking lot, watching people come and go. I thought about the spreadsheet. I thought about the $4,300 I had left and how long it would take to build it back. And the fact that I was only 31 and had more earning years ahead of me than behind me. Then I called my bank. I asked them to walk me through their first-time home buyer programs. I'd heard there were options, down payment assistance, different loan structures. The woman on the phone was patient and thorough. She told me I had more to work with than I thought. I transferred what was left of my savings into a dedicated account. I named the account in the app the way you name things when you're trying to make them feel real. I named it Mine. I didn't hear from my mom for 3 weeks after the wedding. Then she texted, "Just want to say I love you. Thank you for being there for Brooke's Day. Thank you for everything." I read it standing in the hospital parking lot in the rain, still in my scrubs, car keys in my hand. I wrote back, "I love you too. Let's have lunch soon." I meant it. I also meant the boundary. Both things can be true. I've learned that they often are. 6 months later, I put an offer on a small house in the neighborhood 2 miles from the hospital. 2 bedrooms. A backyard with a maple tree that must be beautiful in October. The inspection came back mostly clean, a few small things. My realtor said it was a good buy for the market. I signed the papers on a Thursday morning before my shift. I sat in my car after, in the parking lot of the title company, and I let myself feel it, fully, without pushing it down. I cried a little, not from sadness, just from the weight of it finally landing somewhere solid. Nobody in my family had helped me get there, and for the first time in a long time, that felt like exactly enough. I still think about that parking lot in Louisville. The McDonald's bag on the passenger seat, the engine running, nobody waiting on me anywhere. It was the first time in almost 2 years that I sat somewhere and didn't feel the quiet pull of someone else's need at the edge of my thoughts. What I know now and couldn't have articulated then is that what happened to me wasn't just about money. It was about what I had allowed myself to become inside my own family. The person who answers. The person who figures it out. The person you call when the quote goes up and the deposit is due, and the other option is telling Brooke she can't have the florist she's had saved on Pinterest for 2 years. I had built that identity so carefully, so consistently, that nobody, including me, ever stopped to ask whether I wanted it. That's the part I had to reckon with honestly, not just what my family took, but what I gave without being asked. I never showed anyone the spreadsheet until January. I kept the number to myself for almost 9 months, and there's a reason for that, because somewhere underneath all the generosity, I think I believed that if I stopped being useful, I would stop being loved. That is not a flattering thing to admit, but I think it's true. The hard, clarifying thing about keeping a spreadsheet is that numbers don't have feelings. $18,840 doesn't care that I love my sister. It doesn't care that my parents were struggling, or that Tyler's mom had a health scare, or that the florist was really exceptional. It's just a fact. And facts, I've learned, are something you have to be willing to look at directly, even when they're uncomfortable. Especially when they're uncomfortable. Because the moment you stop looking is the moment the number keeps growing and you keep shrinking. I'm not angry at my family. That matters to me, and I want to be clear about it. My parents are not villains. They didn't sit in a room and scheme. They just called when they needed something, and I answered, and nobody kept track but me. That's a pattern, not a conspiracy. But patterns are still things you choose to break or choose to continue. I chose to break it. Quietly. Without a confrontation, without a dramatic speech. Just a single text that said I can't help with that one, and then holding that line where my mother called 12 minutes later, confused and a little wounded. That's the thing about integrity that nobody really warns you about. It doesn't always feel righteous in the moment. It mostly just feels uncomfortable. My mother's voice, small and surprised on the phone. The 3 weeks of silence after the wedding. The way Brooke cried a little when I told her the number, and how I had to just sit with that and not walk it back to make her feel better. Integrity is mostly just the accumulation of small, uncomfortable moments where you tell the truth and hold your ground anyway. And the perseverance, the part where you rebuild after you've depleted yourself, that doesn't come with a ceremony. Nobody handed me a check for the house. Nobody acknowledged what it cost me to get back to a place where I could even consider it. I just worked my shifts, watched the account grow, made the call to my bank, and one Thursday morning, I signed my name on a piece of paper that said the maple tree in the backyard was mine. That's enough. It really is. The life you build quietly, by yourself, on the foundation of choices you made with clear eyes. That's the one that holds.